Every year the chamber invites me to come and give what we call State of the City. And it's just kind of a recap of what happened in 2025, sprinkled in with some new information about what's coming in 2026. This is pretty much the same presentation. We've added a few slides along the way. A few things have happened since that last presentation in November. But hopefully you guys will enjoy and walk away feeling like you're a little bit better informed.
A lot on the line this weekend. This is the last event of the regular season.
This is the LIV Golf Individual Championship. It is the final lap. It is a two-man race. 54 holes of high-octane energy.
That's right, Indianapolis! The countdown is on! Let's go!
The support outside of Hamilton County and in Hamilton County has just been amazing. We wanted to really emphasize that Westfield was welcoming the world for this event since it is such a large international event, and we're so thankful for LIV and the opportunity that the city of Westfield and Chatham Hills has created for us.
This is what golf is really about. You know, you're golfing with your boys, you hear the live music playing in the background. This is honestly so fun.
The buzz in the community is very palatable in terms of how the residents felt about the experience and the opportunity to share that with their family.
I love the energy. The food is great. The people, it's wonderful. City of Westfield did an amazing job.
Absolutely. We really haven't been able to experience professional golf for a while since the BMW Championships. Watching this community embrace it and really rally behind it and take part in enjoying this event was huge for the county and really big for the state as well.
We knew it would be a great experience for our residents, but also the economic impacts to our local economy. We sold out all 3 days. We set a record for LIV for attendance. That was a big reason why we pushed to nab LIV at Chatham for a golf tournament. So we're at the golf tournament on Friday, day one. They call us Friday, halfway through the day, and they say, hey, Mayor, are you going to be here tomorrow, Saturday morning? I said, absolutely, I'm going to be here all 3 days. He said, we'd like you to be on the party hole at, I think it was 10 a.m. We're going to make an announcement on live TV that we're coming back to Westfield. He said, congratulations. I'm like, I'm excited. I mean, the emotions were raw, and I was just thrilled to hear how LIV felt about it.
We don't like to see events coming in for just 1 year. We want a multi-year deal with them. That way we can continue to grow on the event and getting more people involved in the community. We want the fans to be able to enjoy this again. We want the city of Westfield to prosper.
We're coming back. We're coming back 100%.
Yeah,
we're coming back next year.
LIV Golf!
I'm excited that we're going to be able to take this to the next level. I think you're going to see even more community engagement next year leading up to the tournament. I think it's just going to be even better next year.
It is coming back, so if you liked LIV, you're going to love it. If you hated LIV, I'm sorry. They're coming back one more time. And unfortunately, if you didn't like LIV, they're expanding the tournament from 3 days to 4 days. So now it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you live in Chatham, it's probably a blessing and a curse. I think a lot of our Chatham residents love the experience, but it really displaced them and the golf course and amenities they're used to having as a paying member of that club. So I know for them it was a heavy lift, and we thank you for the sacrifice and allowing the city to host at that golf course. Even better this next year, like the video said, we set a record, North American attendance record, and it wasn't even close. I think prior to Westfield it was like 32,000 for the 3-day total. We went north of 60,000. And if you throw in Chatham Hills and all the people that came into Chatham, we were up around 70,000 people. That's amazing for a city the size of Westfield. That's more than we have residents. Throw in at the same time the Colts were in town. A lot of things going on. Grant Park had multiple tournaments going on. It was a crazy weekend for my staff, but I thought they handled it well. The temperatures were brutally hot. Let's hope we get a little bit of relief next year. But I'm looking forward to it. Stay tuned over the next couple of weeks. You're going to get information around the data we generated from the tournament. So attendance numbers, economic impacts, hotel stays, a lot of different things we're going to be sharing with you. I think the rough number was around $28 million of economic impact to the city of Westfield or the central Indiana region. We didn't capture it all, but we captured a big chunk of it. Next year we think it will be better. Why? Because what the mistake that LIV made, in my opinion, is they had it in Chicago one weekend, the next weekend in Indianapolis, and then the next weekend in Michigan. They had 4 tournaments in America, and 3 of them happened back to back to back. Why does that matter? Because if you live in Chicago and you want to watch this tournament, you'll drive down to Westfield, you'll spend the night, you'll stay in our community for 3 or 4 days for the tournament. If it was just there, we're losing those types of tourists. So we did get quite a bit of people coming from out of town, but it would have been better if, quite frankly, those other tournaments hadn't happened at about the same time. We just announced this yesterday. The NFL has announced for the next 2 years, they're going to host their flag football championships at Graham Park. This is huge. We're talking 350 teams. So you're talking almost 4,000 athletes coming in from all over the country. And this is going to be amazing. ESPN, national TV, it's going to give the city even better exposure, quite frankly, than LIV. Why? Because LIV was called LIV Indianapolis, which is pretty common for golf tournaments. They don't attach to the small towns oftentimes they play in. They attach to the metropolitan area. But NFL is loud and proud about being Westfield, Indiana. We scrape off any kind of media that happens in the community that has Westfield attached to it. This morning I came in and pulled up the report for last night, and there was like 68 articles about this, and it all said Westfield, Indiana. So this is going to give us some huge marketing and exposure from a communication standpoint. Really, really excited about that. And I think also one thing I'll add too, most of you know, Graham Park was privatized in terms of the operations. The city, we still own the park. Everybody in this room has a small ownership in that park, but we now have given the private sector the ability to run the park. I'm a firm believer that government doesn't do a lot of things right, and they're certainly not great at running businesses. I spent 30 years in the Marine Corps. I can give you all kinds of examples of why that's true. When we turned it over to GPSC, things like FIFA, the NFL, we're getting tournaments that the city, quite frankly, would have never had the reach or resources to go get. So I'm really excited about the relationship we have at GPSC. Soon to release numbers for Graham Park for last year, another record year, and it's pretty eye-popping numbers of visitors and athletes that came into Graham Park. It just keeps getting better and better. Let's talk a little bit about public safety. Public safety was one thing I definitely ran on. When I ran for mayor, it's probably, I think, my number one priority is to keep residents safe. That's both police and fire. And when I took office, I thought we were behind in a lot of ways. We'll talk about that here in just a second. First off, in terms of the police department, I brought in Chief Keene when I became mayor. Shortly after taking office, I recruited him out of Terre Haute. Why? For lots of reasons. One, Terre Haute's police department was much larger than the city of Westfield, even though the city is about the same size. But two, I felt like Terre Haute and the crime, unfortunately, that they see, he brought experiences to the table that I thought we lacked, being a small town police department that kind of just grew as the city grew. So I'm really excited about the experience that he's bringing to the table. One thing you're going to start seeing some announcements on here in the next few weeks is how we're starting to police the city moving forward. It's a big change from previous years. Starting this month, actually starting January 1st, we just haven't made a huge announcement about it yet. We're going into more of a district approach to policing. Now, make no bones about it, we have a district right now. And you believe it or not, wherever you live, there's a police officer or multiple officers that are attached to your neighborhood. But I'm just guessing, unless your neighborhood's different than my neighborhood, you probably never see them. In fact, there are many times I wonder what in the world is our police department doing? Not that I want them pulling me over for speeding, because if they were paying attention, they probably would. But I don't see them interacting in our community. I don't see them in the neighborhood interacting with kids out on the trails, all that stuff. And I found out when I talked to Chief Keene, because the old way we policed is you were assigned a district, and if there was a call in that district, you as the officer were responsible for taking that call, but you didn't have to hang out in your district. So guess where all the police officers are hanging out right now? US 31. Why? Because that's where most of the crime happens in our city. They're catching bad guys and gals as they're coming from Indianapolis to South Bend or vice versa. And we're catching a lot of bad people in our community along US 31, and I understand as an officer, it's boring to drive around safe neighborhoods, but we're paying them to patrol our community and be integrated into our city and know our residents and just be visible, so that goes a long way when you're talking about crime prevention. So starting this month, we now have officers who are assigned and have to stay in the district. Now, it doesn't mean we had a major event that they're not going to leave that district for a call, but for the most part, they have to stay in their district and patrol the area that they've been assigned. The other thing I like about it, I've heard lots of complaints about the trails. And certainly when we passed the golf course ordinance, it was like stirring up a hornet's nest, right? Every major problem that we have on our trails kind of came to the surface. And the other thing I found out is we just don't have officers on our trails, and we have a lot of traffic, mostly pedestrian, but we have golf carts, we got e-bikes, we got bicycles, we got scooters, we got pets, we got all kinds of things happening on our trail with no visibility. So now every officer, regardless of your shift, they have to get out of their car for 1 hour every shift and walk the trail. So you're going to start seeing officers on our trail. We're not looking for bad guys and girls. We're not out there to cause problems. We're out there to add visibility and an extra measure of safety to ensure that people are behaving the way they should on those trails. Because it's just going to take one person getting hit and it runs it for everybody. Regardless if it's a bike, a dog biting a pedestrian, a golf cart plowing into somebody, lots of bad things can happen. I think we owe it to our residents, if we value our trails, which I do, that we keep them safe. So that's some changes that are coming. This right here is the new headquarters. We broke ground on it this last year. It's much needed. A lot of people ask me, why didn't we renovate the old public safety building? 2 reasons. The cost to renovate that building was about $3 million less than building a new one. Why? It had all kinds of infrastructure problems when it was built, and we'd have to basically tear it down and start over. The other thing is, based on its proximity to State Road 32, there is no way possible we can make that police headquarters post 9/11 compliant. There are safety measures now that police officers have to take when it comes to their facility, and because of the proximity of that and the way the building was built out, we could never make it that. So when I looked at the risks and the reward and the cost, to me, it was just a natural thing to go ahead and build a new one. So that will come online in 2027, and I'm super excited of what that's going to add to our police department. We also added some canine units. Believe it or not, when I took office, I think we had 2, and they were singularly focused in one area, which most of it was drug detection. But that doesn't help us when we have a criminal that exits a car and runs into a wooded area, and you have to send in officers or a dog to locate that suspect. Does us no good with drugs. I'm talking bomb detection and other things that these dogs can bring. So we've trained, and we got 2 new dogs in the pipeline. We got a couple more coming, and these are multi-purpose dogs that will do a lot of different things. So I'm really excited about that. If you heard, unfortunately, this past summer, we had an officer that was shot. Luckily, it was a graze across the knuckle. He didn't even know he got hit until the suspect had been apprehended, and he looked down, his knuckles were bleeding, just scraped across it. But we had a suspect on US 31 that had a warrant out for their arrest. The flock system caught it as they entered the city of Westfield. Alerts went out, police officer pulled him over, shot as he got out of the car and ran into a wooded area just north of 191st Street. One of those dogs up there was the one that actually caught the suspect. And we didn't have to send an officer in into what probably would have been a really bad situation for both the suspect and our
So one of
officer.
the things that we're looking at is in a lot of our districts, because we've had a lot of population increase in certain districts, a lot of our calls for service aren't aligning with the previous district. So we've got to make changes to try to keep up with that population growth. The first step in that is making sure our geographical districts or patrol districts are sized properly, so that the number of officers are basically aligned with calls for service in such a way that we have the best response time. By placing officers in specific districts, it not only decreases response time, but it also sets us up for community policing. You get a familiarity with the people, with the neighborhoods, with the issues, and you can better address those. Residents wanted to see more officers on the neighborhoods and in the trails. Their police department is preparing for the growth in this community, that we're doing the right things to make sure that they're safe. We obviously want to look at crime rates. We measure a lot of different things as far as that goes. Definitely customer service is a big part of that, because if the goal of this is to ensure that we're responding as quickly as we possibly can to emergencies, if it's to make sure that we have visibility from the public, then we need to get that feedback from them as we move forward. We need to reassess this constantly, while at the same time making sure our officers are trained to deal with just about anything, and that we continue to maintain the low crime rate that we have here in Westfield.
When I took office, we had 3 fire stations. We still do. We got a couple coming online. But when you look at our current population, you compare it to Noblesville, Fishers, or Carmel, between those three cities, the least amount of fire stations, I believe, was 6, which was in Carmel. 6 fire stations for the same population that we're servicing with 3. And that is a problem, folks, because when you call 911, especially if it's an emergency, a medical emergency, heart attack, something like that, where seconds matter, if they have to travel halfway across the city, it takes them 10 minutes to get there, it's probably too late. So we immediately, when I took office, we immediately started leaning into what are we going to do around our fire stations. A couple other things you may or may not want to know. We responded to over 5,000 calls annually. This last year, we saw a 12% increase in the number of calls. So that's a huge jump. The other thing you're going to notice is only 16 to 18% of our runs met federal guidelines of arriving in less than 4 minutes or less. 18%. That means 82% of the time we were late. Hopefully not too late. That's a real problem. So what are we doing about it? Station 85, we started that literally within the 12 months of me taking office, that station was being built. And it's coming online here in the next couple of months. That's the one off of 191st Street, just to the east of Grand Park. Station 85 is being built as we speak.
And that's a schematic of what you're going to see or a diagram. The one thing I really love about the Up and Doesn't Work, I believe this right here is actually a museum. We're putting a museum to honor the history of our fire department. Believe it or not, the very first fire engine, like early 1900 fire engine, has been saved by the city. It's been sitting in a barn of a local firefighter for many years. And we're going to be bringing that along with another truck that's probably 67 years old. They're going to both be there along with a lot of the equipment, rendering pictures, gear, way back in the day that used to be at the original fire station, which is now the entryway into the new Sun King Brewery. If you didn't know that, once that comes online, you got to check it out. We're working really hard, folks, to preserve buildings that need to be preserved. I know it's highly controversial. I'm getting beat up about the green building. We can talk about that later, but there are important buildings that we save in our history, and that first fire station is one of them. That will be part of the new Sun King Brewery. Let's talk economic development, probably the thing I'm most passionate about. When I took office, I've talked about it very openly since taking office. 90% of our city tax revenue comes from residential homes, and that should make each one of you very nervous. Why? Because think about owning a business and having 90% of your income coming from one client. And if that client goes south, what happens to the business? It usually crumbles. If the housing market sees a downturn, and luckily we've been in a very robust housing market for many, many years, the downside of that is your assessed values keep going up. And that means you're paying more in taxes. I know you don't like that, but you don't want to live in a community where the assessed values are going down. But unfortunately with that, it creates all kinds of problems. If the housing market would plummet, the city would lose a large chunk of revenue. And I don't know how, based on our current model, how we keep up with the growth, how we provide basic services to our residents if that doesn't change. So I made this a huge priority of mine. I bring a business background to the table. I've done a ton of business development during my career, and we really leaned into it. My first year in office, we brought over $1 billion of new economic development, commercial investments into our city. We have not reran the numbers yet. We're going to do that here probably in the next year or two. This year was spent bringing a lot of that $1 billion investments off the ground, construction projects. So a lot of that hasn't hit the tax rolls yet, but it should here in the next year or two.
So this year, a lot of work was spent by economic development, getting those projects up and running in our city.
When the people come in our community, they're just amazed by everything going on. Every month, it seems like something new is being built. You know, and I'm super appreciative of what's here already. We're really grateful for those who invested, whether it be Abbott Labs, Isotopia, who just coming online now, a great biotechnology company. As we talk future, we're not forgetting our past.
We've got a number of individuals that work for us that live around Indianapolis, but many of the people that we've recruited from Houston, Texas, from over from Israel, up from Canada, they're all coming here, and most of them are all locating right here in Westfield because they think it's such a great community.
I think employers searching for a forever home, if you will, can find that here in Westfield. Being able to grow our business was paramount because of the size of the land, 20 plus acres here. We could build another sister office building if we wanted to in the future.
We knew about Grant Park and the draw that Grant Park had within the community, and found like it was a great opportunity for us and what we were going to create with, you know, food and entertainment, basically feed and service these families and teams coming to Grant Park. The growth has just been incredible, and it's impacted us in a great financial way.
Our goal is to really use this facility to elevate nationally, to be able to bring some of the best clubs to Grant Park. We are shortlisted to be one of the host cities for the World Cup. It's amazing that actually Indiana is on the map because of this facility and our partnership with the city of Westfield.
We want to build a thriving sports tech ecosystem here. The innovation that's planned here is really exciting. It's something that we can use to help attract more companies to the state.
You know, the city supports us quite a bit. We're a seasonal business, and the city officials coming in and supporting. They come down for lunch, they host events, and that means a lot.
You know, Indiana is becoming a high-tech environment, and so there's just such an opportunity, I think, to have a great place that's completely affordable.
So let's talk a little bit about Grant Park. This is probably one of the most exciting announcements I got to make last year. Ed Carpenter Racing's moving their IndyCar racing team to Grant Park. My first year in office, we revealed a new vision for a district in the Grant Park campus, and that's good. Well, hopefully it was going to accomplish a couple of things. One, create a place where our visitors could come into the campus, watch their kids play sports, and have a place to eat, drink, be entertained, and never leave the campus. And that's really, really important if you're like me and you try to navigate 32 or any of our fast food restaurant corridor on a weekend. You know how painful that can be. By creating that district, it will go a long way, I think, to reduce some of the frustrations our residents feel about access to different things because of all the kids in cleats. As great as that is for our businesses, it does have a downside for our residents. So we want to create that district. But the other thing we're trying to create is a live, work, play concept inside the campus. We want people living there. We want businesses planting their flags there, and we're accomplishing both. Ed Carpenter Racing is going to put, again, their racing team there and their global innovation organization there as well. On top of that, they're going to plan a couple of restaurants on the front facing to the spine that we're creating inside that district. Ursula and Keystone Construction is getting ready to bring to us 2 mixed-use developments that are going to bring apartments, but also restaurants and shops into the Grant Park district. I'm just telling you folks, it's going to explode. This is the year for Grant Park. You're going to see a lot of things happening. We're already starting to move the championship field to make room for this new district. You'll see a parking garage going up in April, May, June time period. That parking garage is going to replace a lot of the surface parking that you see in front of the event center, and that's going to open the door for Ed Carpenter Racing to start construction later this fall. Lots of things happening there. Here's just a smattering of different businesses that announced they were coming to Westfield in 2025. We didn't hit $1 billion my second year. I was a little disappointed in that. But we hit $500 million. So the first year and a half, $1.5 billion of new investments into our community from the commercial side. This is important. This will start to balance out that tax base that we talked about. But more importantly, it's going to provide better amenities to our restaurants, to our residents. I hear it all the time. There's no place to eat. I got to go to Carmel to shop. We hear you, and we're working it. It takes time. I personally have called Cracker Barrel, Olive Garden. They both told me no. My wife told me I couldn't run for re-election if I didn't get a Cracker Barrel, and I may be in trouble here because they're telling us no. But here's the reality, folks. Those restaurants aren't building. They're not building standalone restaurants anymore. Those days are over. Nobody's building. And so if we want more restaurants and more shops and more things to do in Westfield, it's going to come through the mixed-use product. And I know I hear people, oh, more apartments, more apartments. Trust me when I say when it builds out, you're going to be glad we did it. This is the new vision for downtown. We're not going to spend a ton of time here. I've done a lot of town halls on this already. I want to start by saying something. I want to be very, very clear. If you live downtown and you live in a home, let's just say right here, we're not asking you to sell. I don't care if you ever sell your home. Stay where you're at. But if you do decide to sell one day, and you're not selling to a person who wants to also live right there in a residential single-family home, you want to sell, or your kids or your grandkids one day want to cash out, because right now land's going for about $2 million an acre in our downtown area. If you want to cash out and take advantage of that, go for it. However, it's got to fit this vision. We can't allow downtown to continue to evolve, sprawl, tear buildings down without a vision for what comes next, without a vision. And I swore when I became mayor that we were going to stop the blind development and growth that we've experienced in Westfield, and we're going to have a vision for every blade of grass. But let me say one more time, I'm not asking you to move. I don't care if you move. This is what it will be one day, maybe 100 years from now, maybe sooner. But we have a vision now, and we can hold people accountable, because you wouldn't believe some of the crazy requests we get about businesses or things people want to do in our downtown area. Now we have a vision to say, thanks, but no thanks. A couple of things I'm really excited about. So believe it or not, this creek exists. And you're like, there's no water downtown. What are you talking about? That's a mud creek right now. It's Cool Creek, and it's hidden by a lot of trees, and quite frankly, it's Mud Creek. We improved it when we did Grand Junction, so you see a little bit of flowing water there. Westfield is blessed and cursed with a huge floodplain that runs down the middle of our city that we can't do anything about it, folks. You can't change floodplains. You can in some ways, but in most ways you can't. So we're going to lean into it. You're going to see a grassy knoll area, gathering place full of trails, with restaurants and shops facing this greenway. And we're going to move all the drainage, all that development you saw, all that water is going to flow to Cool Creek. And so we're going to really bring this back to life. Nobody else in Hamilton County has it. And if I showed that to any other mayors, you're going to say, you're crazy, all the assessed value you're giving up. I don't care. We want something different. We want something uniquely Westfield. And this will be the only community that I'm aware of, especially in this central Indiana region, that would have anything remotely close to this. It's going to be excellent. I can't wait. Here's just this, believe it or not, this is State Road 32. Right now, this might be where the Kung Fu shop used to be, the white building. It's going to be a boulevard. There won't be as much density or verticality along that side, the north side of State Road 32. But you're going to see over time a transformation of our downtown area. Now, a couple things I also want to mention is, not sure what that is, but we'll go back for now. We're not tearing every old building down. I'm getting a lot of calls. What are you going to do about the bank? We're keeping it. It's not going anywhere. Y'all know the green building's moved. Sorry if you don't like it. That deal was inked 8 years ago. I'm not going to unwind it. I can't unwind it. Quite frankly, I think it's going to be a good thing when it's rebuilt and restored to its original architecture of what it looked like in the 1800s. And it's right there in our historical district. It's going to be fantastic. The Carnegie Library, it's not going anywhere. Now, what about some of the older buildings? That'll be up to the landowner to decide. I'm not going to strip land rights away from property owners. If they want to save that building, they can save that building. I don't think it's the government's role to save every old building in Westfield, but I do believe we have pieces of history that's really, really important we save. The other thing you're going to see in our downtown area, if you've ever been downtown Indianapolis, they have a special trail. I think it's called their Cultural Trail. It's brick line. It's kind of like a Monon going through their downtown. We're going to have the same thing, but it's going to be our historical trail. And it's going to have stopping places along that trail in our downtown to draw our residents to the history that's happened in our community. Yeah, I'm losing that, aren't I? Sorry, this thing is just not one to cooperate. But anyways, it's going to draw us to just very important pieces of our downtown. It's going to tell a story of the old Westfield, because I think it's important we preserve that story. Here's some development that happened this year. This is all going around the Park Street restaurant corridor. Lots of mixed use, lots of restaurants, lots of businesses. This right here is what we call Park and Poplar. These are two 30,000 square foot office buildings with restaurants and shops on the main level. Behind it, you will see a mixed use development there. This is the Grand. It used to be called Jersey 32. That's the one where you've seen all the buildings being torn down right now, all the old houses right there on State Road 32 when you come off the exit ramp at US 31. This is also going to have a ton of office, retail, and restaurants along with a parking garage that's going to give additional parking options for our downtown area. And then this is the CRG project. You know where the library is? It's due south of the library. Right now, just an empty field with a bunch of dirt berms. That's you should see some ground moving this spring for that project. So that corner, what I call the southwestern corner of our downtown area, if you take 32 and Union Street as the center point of downtown, that southwestern corridor, it's pretty much built out. We have a few parcels of land left that will someday, I'm sure, develop. But a big chunk of that's happening right there. With that density, with the office space, with the restaurants, it's going to really bring back to life the downtown area. And it's going to provide parking. Every single new building that we're building has its own parking. We've overparked it. The city's brought money to the table to ensure that we get our own parking spots as well. So I assure you, you're not going to have problems finding parking for downtown in the very near future. Let's talk about public works. Last year, 2025, $42 million we spent on roads and infrastructure. That is more money than was spent in the city of Westfield over the last 10 years. $42 million. Very excited about this. Very appreciative of our council for leaning into that as well. That was a big ask, but I think we fell behind as a city, quite frankly, as it comes to infrastructure, and I felt like we needed to catch up. And with every new house that's being built, we're just getting further and further behind. You could not waste time. I know it was a painful summer, folks. Trust me, there were many times I cussed myself out when I got stuck in a detour. I forgot construction was happening. I'm like, that stupid mayor, can he shut down anything else? But it was needed, and I assure you that with each summer that passes, you're going to be more and more appreciative of the investments we're making. 2026 won't be as good, but $30 million is still a record, probably more than the last 10 years. So back-to-back, heavy infrastructure years, another summer of avoiding detours. This is going to be a little bit more palatable in that what you're going to see is two roundabouts on Grand Park Boulevard. Very dangerous intersection. We've had a lot of accidents there. A lot of that's getting people out of Grand Park onto 32. 191st Street, if you live up on the north side of the city, I apologize for how bad the roads are up there. When I took office, there was no plan for 191st Street. Not one plan, not one design, not one option. So to get a project from concept to construction is 3 years. Unless it's something like a simple roundabout that we do all the time. So since I took office, we have been frantically trying to address 191st Street. You're going to get relief in 2026. It's going to turn into a 4-lane boulevard. It's going to provide a lot better flow of traffic around the Grand Park area. We're not done up there. In 2027, we're coming back with a couple roundabouts at Horton and 191st Street at just to the east of 193rd Spring Mill intersection. We're changing that road area up there a bit, but we're bringing relief to that area. It's going to be a 2-year project, but we're going to get there. And then you're going to also see continued investments in road repaving. Every year we're trying to spend anywhere from $3 to $5 million in just repaving the roads and keeping them world class. We have some of the best roads in Indiana, and we want to keep it that way. Let's talk a little bit about parks. Quaker Park. I get this question a lot. What are you doing about Quaker Park? Obviously, we're vacating the public safety building in 2027. And most of you probably know that Quaker Park is on basically the same parcel of land just behind the public safety building. And we're obviously going to want to reactivate the old public safety building. The plan is to take it out to the private sector, ask for what we call RFPs, requests for proposals, for a vision of what that building or what that property can be. And so what do we do about Quaker Park? Well, for me to rebuild Quaker Park, it's about a $10 million investment. We're not going to do that. So Quaker Park's going nowhere. Any development that happens in front of Quaker Park will have to complement what we have there currently. Because that's one of our most visited parks, quite frankly. Thank you. And for us to get rid of that would be, I think, a travesty for the city. All right, let's move on. Freedom Trail Park, a very hidden park. Most people don't know we have it. You got to go through neighborhoods to get to it. Don't ask me why. It wasn't my idea. But we're going to make it better. And we're going to be investing to try to activate that park more. Next year, we're going to spend almost $1 million at Freedom, not next year, this year, 2026, roughly $1 million on new amenities at Freedom Trail Park. Most of it's around pickleball courts with a bathroom. So you can actually go to the park, and if you stay very long, you can go to the bathroom. You just watch our kids when they come out and practice, they end up in the woods. Not what we want. And we're also going to have a surface parking lot there as well. Let's talk about SCA 1. You guys probably heard a lot of things about this. This was a bill that passed out of the State House last year that had pretty big impacts to the city and to the school districts across Indiana. You will not hear me complain about this bill. I'm a big believer in giving as much money back to the people who earned it as you can, so you're not going to hear me complain about tax cut. I would argue it's probably not making the impacts they hope it will make, because they haven't addressed the real problem, which is assessed values rapidly climbing that's causing taxes to go up on properties. But it's relief nonetheless. But it does have, as mayor of Westfield, it does have impacts. It's something that myself and council have been thinking long and hard of. This year we lost about $2 million out of our budget. No big deal, we can absorb that. We actually have really tightened the belt. Not only is that belt, our budget balanced, but we're putting in another $3 or $4 million back into our rainy day fund in preparation for what's coming with SCA 1. In 2027, 2028, we're going to lose about $11 million. And then in 2028, we literally fall off the cliff, and I don't know how we'll manage it from there. The good thing is things are going to change with this bill. The State House has already said we're going to make changes. This isn't going to happen. We just don't know yet what the model looks like. So until we have clarity, we're being frugal. We're making sure we have extra money saved back in our rainy day fund, just in case. And that way, if something doesn't go the way we hope it would, we're not left in a very bad position. Our budget for this next year, operating budget's about $80.1 million. Our civil city budget, which includes other tax revenue streams like road impact, or not road impact fees, but motor vehicle fees or taxes that we get from the State House, that all adds up to about $124 million. And then tax rate. We actually dropped your tax rate. You probably won't notice it, because I assure you your assessed values are going up, which hides tax cuts. I've been in office now twice. I had 2 budgets under my responsibility and the council's responsibility. Both times we dropped your tax rate. Not a lot, about 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, but we're trying to keep the trajectory going down, which is incredibly hard when you're growing as fast as we are, because we need money to pay for roads and bridges and tunnels and all those exciting things. But we're trying to do that, and I think we're being as responsible as we can to have enough money to invest in the city, to build a city that we know you all want, but also ensure you're getting as much of your taxpayer dollars back, because we know how hard-earned they are. HB 1001, you probably saw some information coming out on that from the Indy Star, the Current. Folks, this bill might be the worst bill I think I've ever seen come out of the State House. It's got my attention. I actually went down to the State House and testified, and I've been working with both the House and the Senate to try to change this bill. Why do we not like it? It basically strips zoning authority away from local communities. And the state is basically giving our home builders complete authority to build what they want, where they want, when they want. And so you can imagine the challenge that provides for a city like Westfield. As fast as we're growing right now, if a landowner, if a construction company bought 500 acres and planted in the middle of the northwest corner of our city where I have no roads right now, I don't know how we would deal with that. And it could also create all kinds of challenges around our school district growing faster than we can keep up from the school's perspective. But also, we have new commercial areas that we're going to reveal in this new comprehensive plan that's getting ready to get released in the next few weeks. If home builders drop in residential housing in our very limited commercial corridors, that 90-10 thing's not getting better, it's getting worse. So this is a big problem. The other thing that it does, sorry, I got excited and I hit the wrong button. We can't control architectural standards anymore. We can't control density and how many homes they're plopping. I hear all the time, it's just too dense, it's too many homes. Well, I can't control any of that with this new plan. The types of houses, they can put duplexes, triplexes, townhomes, and then put them wherever they want. And you're not going to be able to say a thing about it. And also, the big impact is with every new home, we collect what we call park impact fees and road impact fees. Why is this important? Because new people who want to be a part of this community should pay for the infrastructure that we're going to need to build for them to live here. I don't know why anybody in this room who's lived in Westfield for however many years should have to pay so Johnny and Susie can move into our community and have nice roads. That's a fee they pay us to come into our community. It's built into the home price, and we use those dollars to pay for infrastructure and add parks to accommodate that new population growth. This new bill basically makes that almost impossible. They're attaching it to a 1 mile radius around the neighborhood, which is fine in some regards, but you can imagine if you live at 206th Street, say up near Hortonville Road, and you want to get to 191st Street to get to US 31, and we need a roundabout there because we just added 1,000 homes and a couple thousand cars. I can't use it to build that roundabout because it's outside the mile radius. It's that kind of craziness that this bill does. And quite frankly, the comprehensive plan that we spent a lot of money on, we've had over 6,500 residents in our community weigh in on what they want the future Westfield look like. You might as well take it, shred it up, and throw it in the trash because it doesn't really matter because they can do whatever they want to do. It's changing, it's getting better. We're not there yet. I'm going to keep talking about it until it gets where it needs to be. The city won a lot of awards this year. Not unusual. This happened before I became mayor. We continually rank as one of the best cities in America to live in, small cities. But one thing I want to draw your attention to, so Wallet Hub is kind of the gold standard of ranking cities. And every year they'll rank 1,300 cities. So it's pretty much every major city in America. And they rank them on 4 or 5 different factors. This year, Westfield came in as the number 4 best city to live in by Wallet Hub. But I want to show you something about how they rate this that really is concerning. No surprise, Carmel's number 1. Good for them. I love Carmel. I love what they're doing. It's not Westfield, but hey, we can cheer them on regardless. And how amazing is this, folks? Fishers is number 5. How many? There's not a state in America that has 3 cities in the top 100. And Hamilton County has 3 in the top 5. How blessed are we to live in this community? We really are. But I want you to look at a couple of things. Affordability. We're ranked 25th out of 1,300 cities. Better than Carmel, better than Fishers. Economic health. 29th. Better than Carmel, better than Fishers. Education and health. 36. Slightly less, but about the same. Look at this number here. Quality of life. What do you think that is? Restaurants, family entertainment, shopping, things for you and your family to do. We are almost last in the country. Think about if we improved to say 300 or 400 in the country. We would be right here. Why do I care? I think it's a good barometer on how we're building out the city. I think we should be looking at data to make decisions. And not that I want to be number 1, but I want to be a city that people look at and say, this is a great place to live and raise a family. And we have work to do here. Safety, again, we're in the top 50, pretty comparable to what you see there. Great place, safe place to live. I'm really focused here, downtown, Grant Park, some of the things we're working on right now, Grand Universe. This is all addressing this number right here. And I just want you guys to be aware of this, and I want you guys to know what I'm trying to do to make Westfield a better place to live. Grand Gala, just a little plug for this, it's May 1st. When I became mayor, I started a community foundation to support the non-for-profits in Westfield. We have some amazing non-for-profits who are doing impactful things in Westfield, but they're all scratching and clawing over each other to try to raise money. It's a very challenging environment. So I decided, hey, we're going to create a community foundation and help fund these non-for-profits. This is all private donations. The city's not putting money into this. My first year in office, my first gala, we raised over $600,000. And folks, it's all being invested right here in Westfield. This will be our second event. It's going to be at the new Westwood Valerie and Estate. That's where it's a wedding facility. And it's a brand new building. It's going to be coming online. Will be the actual first event that they have in this facility. And if you haven't gotten a ticket yet, there's not a lot left. But please sign up. We'd love to have you there. It's not cheap, but we're raising money for non-for-profits. So you got to make some money on it. So if you have the means to attend, or you want to donate, if you're a business owner, you want to donate something for the auction or sponsor the event, please let me know. And folks, that was it. Hopefully that gets you all a little bit more informed about what's going on in Westfield. I do town halls once a quarter. My first one every year is this major production, but typically it's at like the library or something like that. So if you're interested, pay attention to the newsletter. We always advertise well in advance. I'm also now doing monthly coffee chats. These are morning over a cup of coffee at a local coffee shop. Usually I have 10 or 15 people show up. I just take questions. Fire away. Sometimes I get browbeat. That's okay. I'm just making myself available to you all to ask questions and get informed about what's happening in the community. So get plugged in if you're interested. Again, I appreciate you being here. I'm not going to take questions and answers because simply let's drag this thing out for the next 2 hours. But I will stay here until every question is answered. So come see me if you have things you want to hear about.